Good morning. I'm Anne, a Unity in Lynnwood prayer chaplain. I give a warm welcome to those in the sanctuary and to those online. I'm so happy we are joining together for a few minutes of silent, sacred meditation. You may want to close your eyes and allow your own rhythm of breathing to guide you to your heart space. We breathe nice, steady breaths, sinking into our being. A deeper stillness and quiet is calling. Our busy mind begins to calm. A deeper sense of communing with Spirit awaits us. Let's call on compassion, love, and grace to unfold us as we connect with our hearts and align with holiness.
As we come out of this silence, feel free to give a stretch and a sigh. Shift your position a little. Wiggle your toes. We are present, renewed, and back to this now moment. We hold in blessing all those who have come through our doors in the past, who are heading our way this morning, and who will be part of our future. So it is.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God.
Let's take a few moments to slow down, close our eyes, and tap into the strength of our divine being. Often, it's easier to recognize divinity in the nature around us than within our own flawed selves. So follow, if you will, on a consideration of the strengths we share with nature. All life is energy. We are made of the same stuff as mountains. Feel their endurance and their majestic beauty. They leave us in awe. Our divine energy is as strong, as beautiful, and as awe-inspiring as mountains. Consider the trees, whose leaves become most lovely just before they drop to the ground, only so that they can return in fresh brilliance with the flowering of spring. Within us is also the strength of renewal after loss. Consider the salmon, who follow the call of return, and against all odds, struggle upstream through rapids and unbelievable obstacles to their spawning ground. The amazing strength of that call of return drives us too, to search constantly for our spiritual source. Without that drive, humanity would be unrecognizable. Consider the raindrop, a tiny, fragile speck so easily brushed aside, and yet it becomes the powerful river that cuts paths through rock, changes course when necessary, and ultimately unites with the ocean. We are the power of water, finding our course through rocky terrain and peaceful meadows alike, bound to return to our source. Bound to, because we are not ever separate. We are powered by divine energy, breathing its life-giving force. We are strong. We are beautiful. We are awe-inspiring beings. We are part of God's nature too. Let us feel our purest strength. And so it is. Amen.
Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right Good morning. Welcome, Unity Lynnwood. If you're able, please stand and greet your neighbor. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. If you'd like to sing along, we're going to sing We Let the Love Wash Over Us. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy. We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace one more time. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love one more time. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. Nice.
Hello. Hi. Good morning. My name is Ollie, and I'm here to make an announcement about the upcoming gala. So the gala title is The Death of a Gangster, Roaring Twenties Murder Mystery Gala and Fundraiser. So you may be wondering, why are we choosing a murder mystery? Well, it's actually kind of inspired based off of my dad, Nathan Long, to where he used to act a lot at this place called the Dinner Detective, of where basically you sit down, you eat dinner, while it's an interactive show of a murder mystery the entire time. And what Stacy told me was that the church wanted to do something to kind of inspire it, which I felt was nice. So yeah, why should people come and support the gala? Well, all of the money will go to Youth and Family, YOU Ministries, and the AV Ministry, and all that they do for Unity in Lynnwood. And it's basically just one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. And it'll help out a lot. All the money will go to Unity in Lynnwood and Unity Ministries. tickets are on sale now. Go get your tickets. There's sponsorships available. They're at the website. And the more people that go, the more money we make, the more events and fundraisers we can hold and do. If you have any questions, let me know. I will do my best to answer them. And please go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie. So good morning. Welcome to Unity in Lynnwood. My name is Sally West, and I'm pleased to be your welcome host today. Whether you're attending here in person or online, we appreciate your presence. We believe that every person, regardless of background, color, or creed, is a divinely created spark from the same ultimate source. We enjoy diversity, celebrating all cultures, genders, sexual orientations, family structures, and faith traditions. Inclusion at Unity does not mean conforming to a set belief system, but it does demand respect for each individual's spiritual journey. And that is what you will find here, a community of broad-minded, open-hearted souls who aspire to see the highest truths of our existence on earth and to encourage the highest realization of our human potential. We seek unity, not division. The name of this church is no accident. We welcome you to join us in this sacred quest today. Thank you.
Sailed a wild, wild sea, climbed up a tall, tall mountain. I met an old, old man beneath the weeping willow tree. He said, now if you've got some questions, go and lay them at my feet. But my time here's brief, so you'll have to pick just 3. What do you do with the pieces of a broken heart? And how can a man like me remain in the light? And if life is really as short as they say, why is the night so long? And the sun went down and he sang for me this song. Once I was a young fool like you, afraid to do the things that I knew I had to do. So I played an escapade just like you. I played an escapade just like you. I sailed a wild, wild sea. I climbed a tall, tall mountain. Met an old, old man. He sat beneath the sapling tree. Said, if you've got some questions, go and lay them at my feet. But my time here is brief, so you'll have to pick just 3. Said, what do you do with the pieces of a broken heart? And how can a man like me remain in the light? If life is really as short as they say, why is the night so long? And the sun went down and he sang for me this song.
Thank you, UIL Band, Kelly, David, Scotty. Woo. And good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Lovejoy. Happy to be here with you today. So I will add my welcome to the welcomes that you have already received. Sally, wow, what a beautiful prayer this morning. That was really awesome. We have been to church, right? Oh, goodness. There is a lot to be grateful here for. So many talented people. I do want to give a special shout out to our AV team. I don't know if any of you have, or how many of you, I should say, have been up there, but we always joke that the sound equipment looks like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. It is really complicated. There is a lot going on. It takes incredible talent to do it. And today we are down one person. So Colin and Maple are swinging this all themselves up there, rocking it. So thank you so much. And Cameron, we are sending you healing prayers. He's not feeling so well today, so we are praying for a quick recovery for him. But our AV team is really magicians, all of them, so we're just so grateful for that. And I want to welcome our folks in our virtual audience. We have some names there on the back screen. Pascaline, welcome from Nairobi. Cameron, good to see you. Stacy, Tom, Kim Van Allsburg, Jerry Brocker. We're so glad that you're with us, and all of the others who maybe didn't put their name there, but we know that you were there. So if you would go ahead and turn to this camera over here, to the beautiful Walayn, wave Walayn, and let's just say to our virtual family, we see you. We love you. We are glad you're here. And we affirm the highest truth for you. Ah, wonderful. Thank you. A couple quick announcements before we jump into things, and of course Sally will have more for us at the end, but thank you, Ollie, for that fantastic announcement about the gala. And just to kind of reinforce that, we still are looking for sponsors for the gala. We have 3 tiers of sponsorship. They start at $1,500, go up to $5,000. If you believe in what you are getting from this church and what unity brings into the world, please consider this. There's more information on the website about what you get for each level of sponsorship. It includes kind of some special tables and maybe a bottle of champagne and some other stuff. So please check that out and consider it. And regardless, as Ollie said, please buy a ticket. And the other kind of Board of Trustees hat I'll put on for a moment is you have received probably 2 surveys recently. Now, the first one you will only have received if you're an active member. We sent out both an electronic survey and a mailed postcard to our active members because we need to get the list of current active members finalized before our annual meeting on October 20th. So if you're not an active member, don't worry about that one. You wouldn't have gotten that. But if you are, you should have received both an electronic survey and a postcard. You can choose which one you want to fill out. But we do need to get that back before October 20th because that tells us how many people we need at the meeting for a quorum, so it's pretty important. And the second survey, which should have gone to everybody, a big list, is actually one about your views, your priorities. What do you want to see for Unity in Lynnwood going forward? It's a short survey, only 8 questions. It shouldn't take you very long. That one did come in an email, so check your junk mail if you didn't receive it. And if it's not there, call the office, let Stacy know. We'll figure out a way to get it to you because we really do want to hear everybody's voice. So thank you for paying attention to those surveys. So let's do our mission statement. We do this every Sunday. It is the core of who we are, and we like to remind ourselves, I like to remind myself that our mission is practical spirituality, welcoming community. And we really try to live those both every day. We support this mission statement, which is short, with a number of statements of values. And today we're doing the first of 7, which says we offer a metaphysical teaching which encourages regular spiritual practice, including prayer, meditation, affirmation, denial, service, and study. In other words, we give you tools. We give you tools that you can use in your everyday life. And when you use those tools, your spiritual growth does accelerate. So that's what that means. So let's say together now our invocation. This is another opening that we do to remind ourselves of truth at the beginning of every service. Together, though imaged and named variously, there is a singular and eternal ground of being from which all life emanates and into which all life retreats. We choose to call this ground of being God. By extension, we come to understand that we are spiritual in nature, human in expression, and limitless in potential. We gather today to remember such truths, to celebrate our unity, and to honor all life. Thank you. So today, I wanted to talk about the power of the word. The word has so many meanings and so many different ways of applications, and it is one of my personal favorite topics. So I want to start actually with a scriptural quote. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is the first statement in the book of John in the New Testament. And, sometimes when I've thought about this and meditated on it, I've thought, wow, they kind of could have stopped there. If you really think about it, it really says it all. The Word is the creative principle, that which the ground of all being has, that which we have, that which every part of creation has. And what's interesting is that this idea that sound or vibration or the word is in fact the source of everything in the universe is not unique to Christianity. In Hinduism, they talk about how their sacred scriptures talk about the Om. The sound of Om is the sacred sound that created the universe. So there again, vibration, sound creating the universe. Same in Buddhism. In Buddhism also the idea that the sound created the universe. So we have this idea, we know that everything is vibration, everything is energy, as Sally reminded us this morning, and that energy is the energy of creation as we tap into it. It is there all the time as the ground of being. So, that is one way to look at that statement about the word. Now, in the Greek translation of the New Testament, that phrase is often translated using the term logos instead of word. In the beginning was logos. And logos, as you might imagine, is tied to our word logic. And Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore actually talks about this in one of her writings. She says that, the logos was the beginning with the word. God created logos, meaning there is a logical order to all that underlies the universe. And that logical order means that since God is spirit, all of creation is spirit. That is the logical conclusion that comes from that. So we can look at it also from the standpoint of logic as well as sound. Love that vibration. Just take it in. So, I have to start talking about the power of the word in New Thought and in unity. And this is something I think many of us here are very familiar with. Unity emphasizes the use of affirmations, which are positive statements of truth, of denials, where we deny the power of material and earthly conditions over us. We don't deny their reality in this plane, but we deny their power over us. And so, I believe we're pretty well trained in, using the word, but how we use it is important. I was in the bookstore a little bit earlier, and I saw we have these fantastic 12 powers cards that you can pick up that give the power by the month and a lot of information about it. And so this is the first Sunday in October, and the power of the month is zeal, which is one of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, mentioned. And when Charles Fillmore, he actually has a book called The Revealing Word that talks a great deal about the word. And he says, words of truth from a zealous person possess a dynamic power to heal and bless because the spiritual self enters into them. So in other words, we can't simply say words. We can't simply say affirmations over and over blindly, because the words themselves, without that zeal, without imbuing them with our spiritual self, are not going to have the power. You know, this is why the words of the sages and mystics and avatars of all ages last so long, because the words are imbued with that power. It's not about the word itself, it's the spiritual power that goes behind it. So we use that truth in unity in a number of our practices, in our prayers, in our meditations, in our denials, and I think, again, we're very grounded in that, and that's an important piece. But I want to talk about some other uses of words and how we use words and how words impact us and impact our culture. So getting a little bit broader and thinking about it. And as some of you know, my background is in science, particularly in behavioral and neuroscience. So I've done a little bit of look into, how do words actually change the brain? What does it do to our brains when we have, positive words, negative words? And there was a research study that was done. A lot of times when neuroscientists and psychologists want to understand what's happening in the brain, they put people in a special kind of MRI machine. Y'all probably had maybe MRIs or seen MRIs for imaging. You have a busted knee or whatever, you go get an MRI. Well, this is a special brain MRI. And what they do while a person is in the MRI, looking at their brain, they say words, or they show them pictures, or they do other things, and they see which areas of the brain light up. And they do literally light up. You can, put it in a computer software and it'll show, oh, this is the part of the brain that's actually active. So in this particular study, what they did was they had people in their functional MRI machine, and they gave them either positive words or neutral words or negative or pain-related words. And they looked to see what was happening in different parts of the brain as they did that. And what was interesting is that they found that it was the negative and the pain-related words, when they were, towards other people, sort of negative statements, actually had the biggest and the longest lasting effect on the brain. So those negative words, when somebody criticizes us, when somebody says something mean, we can do all the stuff that we can do around that, but they do have an effect. And get this, even bigger effect on the brain is negative self-talk. Yeah, I kind of cringed at that one too. So the words that we say to others, the words that we say to ourselves are having an effect, and the positive and the negative, but those negative words really do an effect. So I thought, let's just do a mini practice in this moment, because, this is the nature of our lives, right? We do this all the time. So if you will, close your eyes for a moment if you're comfortable, and just reflect back over the past week. And maybe there was a time when you said or thought something perhaps a little unkind about somebody, maybe a little rude, maybe it was that woman who cut you off in traffic, whatever it might have been. If you just thought or said an unkind word, give yourself some forgiveness. Just breathe in, okay, yes, I did, and send some love towards that person. It doesn't matter if you know them or not. Just, I love you, I'm sorry I said that, forgive me. Just let that be. And take a deep breath, and now bring to mind sometime this week when maybe you were a little critical of yourself, maybe a little harsh, maybe said something to yourself that you wouldn't have said to another person who was not you. And once again, just with compassion for yourself, this is the path we navigate every day. Oh, I forgive myself. I forgive myself for any unkind thoughts, any unkind words. I let that go. I release it. I am free. And you can go ahead and open your eyes. And I think, this is just such a powerful practice. Every night before bed, it takes 30 seconds to just say, oh, forgive my unkind words to self and others, and just let that go. We start again. We start with a new day. So it is powerful, and the positive words are powerful too. So I'm actually going to show you a picture of a brain. I told Colin and Maple it was a good day in Unity in Lynnwood when we actually get to show a picture of the brain here. Is anyone with me? Okay. So, our brains are immensely complex organs, right? But this was, again, looking specifically at how words impact the brain. So when you hold a positive word in your thought, the first thing that happens is it hits the frontal lobe. That's that pink part right there. So you're holding a positive thought. That's where our executive decision-making comes from, our rational choices, all of that is happening in the frontal lobe. So we're holding this positive word. Maybe it's an affirmation, maybe it's a kindness, maybe it's love. And the second thing that happens almost right away is that activates something called the motor cortex, which is like what it sounds. It's motor, it's action. So that's a little bit further back in the brain, but when we hold that positive word, it will drive us to action. And the third thing, and this is the really cool part, if we sustain that belief, not just say it once, not just say one affirmation one time, but really hold that powerful word, that positive word, that moves toward the back of the brain to this part called the parietal lobe, which is involved, among other things, in self and other. That is where our social cognition, as the psychologists call it, happen. How do we recognize self and other? And so we start to see the other as self. And if we're holding that positive thought, as the researchers who looked into this say, holding a positive view of ourselves trains our brain to see the good in others. So you can see how it becomes more and more embedded, literally, in the deeper parts of our brain, the more ancient parts of our brain, the more we hold those positive thoughts until we start to literally see a different world. I believe that's what Jesus meant when he said, you can see heaven here on earth, is you start to see a different world because you have literally changed your brain. So, okay, that's what it does to our brains, but what about our everyday stuff? We're all using words all the time, and an interesting thing has happened over the last 30 or 40 years, at least in the United States. I don't know if this is true in other countries, but our vocabulary has shrunk. We have lost vocabulary since the mid-1970s, and that has happened independent of educational attainment. In other words, when they've done these studies, they've looked at high school graduates, college graduates, graduate school, it doesn't matter. At every level of education, we have lost vocabulary. And that is despite the fact that overall our educational attainment in this country is much higher. Many more people graduate from high school now than they did in the mid-1970s. The researchers also thought, well, maybe this has to do with the aging population. But the truth is that as we age, while certain things diminish, our verbal ability actually gets better. So it's not that. And then, well, maybe it's because we have many more non-English speakers in the United States now than we did in the 1970s. Well, that wasn't it either, because they could find the exact same thing when they looked only at native English speakers in this particular study. So it seems to be a real thing. Now, why has this happened? We don't know why. We have some speculation about why it's happened, and part of that has to do with the fact that we don't read printed material like we used to. We don't read books, we don't read newspapers, so that may be a piece of it. And then, not to jump on the bashing social media train, but I'm going to jump on the bashing social media train. And only from the standpoint of, social media and texting involves a lot of shorthand. You know, you're not going to type out the great American novel. You can't even do it on Twitter or X. You know, so you have to learn how to use very simple words and shorthand and abbreviations. And when that becomes a primary way that you communicate, as it is for many people of all ages, it's not just younger people. Well, you know, where do those words go, and how do we get it? So we have fewer words at our disposal collectively, for whatever reason that may be. So then the question is, well, does that matter? You know, maybe it's not a big deal. We're still communicating. We're still doing this. And I came across this really beautiful quote by an author and philosopher named Dr. Jean Cooperman, who said, you know, and this gets back to the brain in the beginning. She says, the words that we use reshape our neural pathways every time we use them. They influence what we are capable of perceiving. If you don't know the words crimson, cerise, mulberry, vermilion, all you see is red. Words make subtle distinction, tease out nuances, reach for common understanding. The more words we comprehend, the more ideas we can grasp, and the faster we can absorb them. And this has, in fact, been shown in studies that someone's vocabulary, in children as well as adults, does correlate with how many ideas, how complex those ideas are, and how nuanced those ideas are. And I tell you, for some reason, every time I read that sentence about if we don't know crimson, mulberry, vermilion, or cerise, we only see red. I mean, I almost get choked up. It's like, wow, we are limiting ourselves in ways that we don't even know, we don't perceive, but when we really think about it like that, and when we apply it not to common things like maybe a color that we see, but actually, you know, what about ourselves? What about the complexity that is the human experience? And, you know, this actually led me to think about profanity. Now, I am not going to say that, and my friends and fellow board members can attest to this, you know, I'm not someone who never uses a four-letter word, so I'm not up here to tell you never use a four-letter word. But I do think that the extreme prevalence of the use of profanity and four-letter words in our culture today, in our media, in our writing, it is so commonplace that it actually dilutes the meaning. It dilutes the impact of them. And so when my daughter was of that, you know, growing up and at that age where, you know, children discover that they learn four-letter words and isn't it fun to use them and let's try using them and, you know, see how parents react kind of thing. And, you know, and I don't know where this even came from. I guess I just channeled it. But I said, you know, profanity is the refuge of a weak mind. Can't you find a better word? And it kind of stopped at least, I'm sure it didn't stop the use of four-letter words, but it certainly wasn't the effect that she was seeking at home. So, you know, but I thought, wow, it is. I mean, there are times when you really want to have that impact. I still remember to this day the first time I heard my mother use a four-letter word. I was probably a 15, 16-year-old. I mean, she was a proper New England woman. She did not use four-letter words, but something happened and I heard her use a four-letter word. And it was very impactful because she didn't use them consistently. So I think it's really interesting to think about, can we reclaim vocabulary to express the breadth of our emotions, our anger, our frustration, our annoyance, our whatever, that we need to express without relying on the common things. It's actually kind of a fun experiment to think about, you know, what can we do with language that doesn't involve shrinking that vocabulary so that we actually are experiencing more and feeling more. So, just a thought. Language colors how we see the world. It impacts culture and it impacts perception. So, you know, if you study different languages around the world, and I love linguistics, I think linguistics is such a fascinating, interesting thing, the study of languages and different languages and how people say things. In Chinese language, for example, there are many, many words relating to family. Different, you know, relatives all have their special words, the way you're related. I mean, you know, in the United States, we would just say, well, my grandmother. And if you have to get really specific, you could say my paternal grandmother or my maternal grandmother. Well, apparently in Chinese, there are, you know, literally dozens of words that get at the relationships of family, because family is an incredibly important cultural value. You may have heard previously that in Eskimo and Inuit languages, there are many words for snow. It's not just snow. There's wet snow and dry snow and blue snow and cold snow. And I mean, it's like all these different words for snow, because it's obviously very important if you're living in the Arctic Circle to know in a very descriptive way how to describe your environment, how to describe your world. So it's also really interesting from the words change the brain part that it does change our perception. So I learned that if you are a Russian speaker, there are literally different categories of words for dark blues and light blues. And you have this whole range of words that reflect dark blues and light blues. So, okay, fine. But what's interesting is that when psychologists do an experiment where they show Russian speakers and non-Russian speakers all different colors of blue, the Russian people are actually able to perceive more subtle differences in blue than the non-Russian speakers. In other words, the non-Russian speakers literally cannot see the subtle differences that the Russian speakers can because of the way their language has them do that. So profound impacts. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons it's so important when you're reading scripture to know what language it's translated from. There is a big difference in many cases between translations of the New Testament in particular that come from the Greek, which is much of it, you know, the King James and all of that, or that come from the Aramaic, which was the language that Jesus actually spoke and that culture actually used at the time. I mean, it was translated from the Aramaic into the Greek. Well, the cultural attributes of Palestine and Israel and the areas where Jesus lived were very different than the Greeks, who valued logic and philosophy. And so the language actually reflects that culture, and then it gets translated into English or whatever other language, and so you have that as well. So no, they all bring valuable insights, but know where it's from. It's really important because of that culture. Now, finally on words, you know, we have heard a lot, and I think it's a very good thing that we've heard a lot in the past 4 or 5 years about inclusiveness and the impact of words on inclusion. We've learned about microaggressions that cause challenges for individuals of color, for women, for LGBTQ individuals, and often unconsciously, because we are simply using words and not thinking about the impact that they may have. There was an interesting study, you know, we use metaphors very commonly, and it guides how we think about things. So in this study, they were doing focus groups with people about crime and solutions to crime, and, you know, getting people's ideas about what to do. And they deliberately, in one focus group, they used a metaphor for crime as a virus. They said, you know, crime is like a virus, and they went on and they got things. And then in the other focus group, they described it as a beast, as an animal. And perhaps not surprisingly, what happened in the group where they described it as more of a virus, people started thinking about root causes. They started thinking about prevention. Okay, well, how is this virus spreading? What can we do about it? Where did it come from? Can we look at that? Whereas when they described it as a beast, people thought more about enforcement, prison. Can we just, you know, how do we get it? It's a beast, we have to lock it away. So, you know, it seems very harmless, the metaphor, but in fact, it has a big impact on how we think. And as I started thinking about inclusive language, I have to say that I was struck by the invocation that we say here at Unity in Lynnwood. And particularly the fact that we talk about how there is a singular and eternal ground of being. We choose to call that ground of being God. We choose to call that ground of being God. And I had never really reflected on that before, but basically what's that saying is, first of all, that singular and eternal ground of being has no name. You know, we are making a choice to call it something, and we call it God, but you can call it Allah, you can call it Holy Spirit, you can call it whatever you want because it doesn't have a name. And by doing that, we're saying, whoever is listening to this, whatever your beliefs are, whatever you choose to call it, or maybe you are someone who had a traumatic experience in an earlier religious setting, and the word God kind of gives you a little bit of a bad feeling. I know there are people here that has been the situation. We're making a choice, and we're calling it out, but we're saying it's our choice. It doesn't have to be your choice. I love the inclusiveness of that. And it was so subtle that, you know, I had said that invocation for years, however long we've been doing it, without really thinking. I was like, oh, why do we say we choose to call it God? We choose to call it God so that we are inclusive of everybody's faith and not mandating that. So to wrap up, I want to talk about silence. Like, why are you talking about silence if we're talking about the word? Because it's like in music, what makes great music is the space between the notes. It's the rests. If you just had the notes and you didn't have the spaces, would it have the same impact? Would it have the same power? No. And I think the same is true of words. I think the same is true of language. And we know from our spiritual teachings that we need the silence. But I think that is why. There's a quote from the mystic Meister Eckhart, 13th century. There's nothing in the world that resembles God so much as silence. And the Celtic poet and theologian John O'Donohue says, one of the reasons that many people are suffering from stress, it's not that they're doing stressful things, but they allow so little time for silence. We need that balance. Our lives are busy, our lives are loud, they're full of words, they're full of sound, and that can be great, and we need the silence in that. So there are a lot of deliberate ways to use the silence in your practice. I'm sure many, if not all of you, are doing this. Obviously, meditation is one. But an interesting and fun one, maybe you haven't tried, is actually to note the silences in your conversations with others. Conversations have natural silences. Sometimes that makes us really uncomfortable when there's a silence and we want to just jump in and say, oh, blah, blah. But, you know, just note it. It could be very small silence. It doesn't have to be a long, awkward silence, but just pay attention to that and see if you can use silence as a bridge in your conversation rather than a barrier. You can deliberately allow yourself to have some silence during the day, not just in your formal meditation period, but just turn off TV sound. You know, I think a lot of folks are used to just having constant background noise of something going on, and, you know, just experiment with short times of silence. And then this is almost like the conversational pause, and again, reminded of your beautiful prayer, Sally. Pay attention to the silence between the sounds in nature. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm in nature, especially around trees, which I love, there can be a lot of ambient noise. Maybe I hear traffic, maybe I hear whatever, but all of a sudden I get this powerful sense of silence. It's like there's a silence that goes beyond whatever sound there is. And that's another way to really recognize silence. So I thought we could experiment a little bit in our meditation today. We're not going to have Callee play for us today, but I have these bells. And what I thought we could do is to really practice balancing sound and silence. So I'm going to ring the bell, and as you can, and you're going to hear it differently. I mean, the people in the front of the room are going to hear it differently from the people in the back of the room, and that's cool. But listen to the sound as long as you can hear it, until it fades into silence, and then see if you can sense in some way other than your ears the vibration that continues after the sound has faded, and just breathe that into the silence. And we'll do that 3 times, and then we'll wrap up, okay? So you can close your eyes, and if you're comfortable, and tune in. So I'll ring them and just listen to them fade, and then listen to the silence. Father, Mother God, we are so grateful for the gifts of sound, the gifts of silence, and the beautiful interplay between the two that fill our lives day and night from birth until our time leaving this planet. We let these sounds fill our heart. We intend to be deeply mindful of our words and the impact on ourselves and others. And we give thanks for your grace and blessings. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was wonderful. So now is the time in the service where we offer opportunities to practice giving and receiving, that we might cooperate with the reciprocal nature of the spiritual universe. In other words, while your giving matters to us, we suggest your giving matters to you too. Electronic giving options are now on your screen. For those choosing to give physical gifts, the ushers will gratefully pass baskets. If you're on site and prefer to give by credit card, there's an electronic giving station at the back of the sanctuary by the Welcome and Information Station. If you would like information about UIL's program of regular giving, planned giving, or legacy giving, please take a Giver's Circle brochure or write to the Board of Trustees directly. And for those already participating, we extend a special thanks. Please join me in our affirmation as it appears on the screen. I give freely and fearlessly, fulfilling the law of giving and receiving.
Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say, At this point, I'd like to ask if there's anybody here for the first time. Would you just indicate if there's anybody here for the first time? No? Oh, yeah? Okay. Thank you. Just like to extend a special welcome. And also, if you're new or newer, to point out the resources in the chair back in front of you, if you'd like to sign up for a monthly or bi-monthly email to let you know what's going on. Here at Unity in Lynnwood, we have wonderful things going on, so you could receive those newsletters and updates. Also, if you have not yet received one of these Daily Word publications, this is an undated version. These come out monthly, but this is an undated one that we're happy to give you. And you can get one of those either at the Welcome and Information Station at the back, where I'll go for a few minutes after service, or go visit Marion in the gift shop, the gifts bookstore right inside the entrance, where you'll find all kinds of wonderful goodies. Okay, so now please register for all events by visiting the calendar page at www.unityinlynnwood.org. And if you have a compliment or a comment, please write "We Listen" at unityinlynnwood.org. We're here for you, and we'd like to hear from you.
First Sundays are Connection Sundays. This means that any small group volunteer leaders present with us today will invite questions about their programs. And so that newcomers might identify small group leaders, are there any here who would like to stand up? See, my husband is one, but he's just gone somewhere. So, yeah, okay. Thank you. And because it's the first Sunday of the month, we also have our newcomers potluck in Friendship Hall afterwards, which is always a feast. And so please come and join us. And if you didn't bring anything, that's fine. It's a newcomers potluck. And if you're even an old comer and you didn't bring anything, please come anyway. Okay. Wednesday, October 16th, 7 p.m., UIL's prayer chaplains will guide us through a healing meditation focusing on our 12 divine powers. This deep meditation will help you to be the light of the world that you are meant to be. Sunday, October 20th, 12:30, please join UIL's Board of Trustees for the annual business meeting as set forth in ministry bylaws. We're going to elect 2 new trustees and enjoy updates at that meeting. And as we've already heard about from Ollie, save the date for Friday, October 25th for the Mystery Gala. It happened one night, Death of a Gangster, a Roaring 20s murder mystery gala and fundraiser. Your Board of Trustees, and I think Jennifer already said this, that you'd sent out the information, so I think I won't repeat that. Finally, I would like to introduce a short video from Reverend Denese about a new program called Eye of the Storm, which will be starting next week. And after the video, Linda Babin will come up to share more about this exciting program. So thank you all, and I'll see you in Friendship Hall.
Hi, I'm Reverend Denese Schellink with Unity in Lynnwood, and I want to invite you to join us for our 7-week series. If you're ready to deepen your spiritual journey and connect with like-minded individuals in a meaningful way, the time is now. We want to invite you to join us on a journey for 7 weeks beginning October 13th. It's the book Eye of the Storm by Dr. Gary Simmons. And so we'll be launching this life-changing series that begins with weekly study groups, and it's available both in person and online. And whether you prefer to join us from the comfort of your home for an online class or meet in person at the Spiritual Center, there's a group that will most likely fit your schedule. And there's so much more to it than just a book study. There's connection, there's collaboration, there's community, and building lasting friendships and exploring how we can stay centered in the midst of life challenges. The book by Dr. Gary Simmons, Eye of the Storm, it offers so many practical tools and insights for handling conflict, for handling stress, uncertainty, and awakening to our own power and peace within us. It's a fabulous book, and each week you'll hear a Sunday lesson, and then you'll follow it with your book study group. And then you could choose a time or a place that sort of works for you. We'll have 4 or 5 groups that you could choose from. And so this series is a great way to build community, make friends, support your journey of awakening, and just to have a good time with like-minded folks. And you're going to get to explore how to live with peace and purpose, even in the midst of a storm. So if you're ready to take that leap, the next step of your spiritual awakening, join us today. Sign up today or online for our study groups on Eye of the Storm. It's 7 weeks, begins October 13th. We can't wait to welcome you.
So I wanted to follow up Denese's announcement with just a personal invitation from the group of us who are being facilitators for these study groups. happens to be a learning format that I love. On the 13th of October is when Denese will begin by giving a lesson. And then the following week, we will be reading material from this book. There'll be reflection questions and then rich discussions and conversations. So that's a pretty rich learning opportunity. This is the book. I'm going to point out it's short. It's not very long, and it has really quite large print. So the reading will not overwhelm. And our groups, 2 online, 2 in person, there will be one of each kind on Monday, one of each kind on Tuesday evening. Sign-up sheets are right here at the back. I'm going to wander back there when I finish up here, just to answer questions. If you have interest, come on back. I'll talk about it with you. I've read most of it already, and I have to say this is rich content. Reverend Denese covered it very beautifully, but I really have this thought that anyone who picks up and reads this book and really interacts with the material won't see the world in the same way. And I do believe it will help us with inner conflict, conflict with others, and the conflict that we swim in the world, with an arrow pointing to where we go to find, remember, the calm in the center of the storm, the eye, that's a clue. So if you have any interest, come on back. The groups will start in just a week, but that does give us time to sign up to get a book. They are in the Soul Things book and gift shop, and to get a study guide and to read the first 40 pages or so. Books, I mentioned already, are available in our bookstore. I hope to see many of you there. Thank you.
So I love how we have started bracketing our services with statements about the divine. So we start with our invocation, we close with the unity statement of faith. So if we could all read that together, please. We'll get it on here. Colin's doing 90 things all at the same time, moving fast. Thank you, Colin. I think there's just it's not too often that we could be reminded of the fact that there is only one ground of being, and that guides us throughout our lives in every step that we take. And it is a power of good. It is a power of love. It is a power of wisdom that is ours to tap into every time. Okay, tell you what. We're just going to let this be our closing prayer, and I will read it for you. So let's close our eyes and take it in. Oh, look, it came. Thank you, Colin. Really, they're magicians, but I have to acknowledge that I know this is stressful when there should be 3 of you doing this, and there's 2. So really, really just so grateful for your service and all that you do. Okay, together, please. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the infinite, living, loving presence of God. And to help you remember that even further, we do have prayer chaplains with us today who will be available after service to pray with you up front. And I believe it's also Divine Wholeness Day. Is that what it says in my program that it is? Okay, it's not. I thought, no, that's the 4th Sunday. Okay, but chaplains are available. So can I have the chaplains in service please stand up or wave? Dana, Ann, thank you. So please come find a chaplain. Prayer is for any time. It's when you're celebrating. It's when you need support, and they will help to see that living, loving wholeness that you are. So we will close with our beautiful song, as we always do. Thank you.
May the long time sun shine upon you. Oh, within you. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on.
Guide your way on. Have a blessed week. Thank you.